everybody. It's Kelly Russell, the Rock Your Joy Coach. Thank you so much for joining me today. Welcome to my channel. So, my topic for this week is asking for the answer to specific problems. And so, A Course in Miracles, it's a mind training, it's a spiritual lifestyle in my mind, it's a psychology, and sometimes its teachings can feel very esoteric and like they don't apply to this world, to the world that we believe that we're in, to the world of form. And yet the course itself states that it is a very practical course, and it is meant to be applied in this world that we where we believe that we are. And it's taught on two levels. It's taught on the level of content and on the level of form. And so on the level of content, it is speaking to us in the on the level of the mind, and it is a mind training, and it is reminding us of what the truth is that this world is not real. This world is a dream, it's an illusion, it's a hallucination that we made up, and it is helping us to wake up to the truth of the home we never left, the separation that never occurred, and the truth of who we are as love and light, and not bodies and not form. And so that's the level of content. But on the level of form, it also is teaching us how to be in the world while we believe that we are still part of this dream. And one of the tools that it gives us and tells us to do specifically is to ask for the answer to problems. And I have a little bit of a funny story to tell you about my own experience with this that happened a couple of years ago, and I'll tell you that in a second. But I want to read this part of the course to you that I'm referring to. And so this is in chapter 11, God or the Ego. It is part 8, the problem and the answer. And it has to do with paragraph 5, which says, you may complain that this course is not sufficiently specific for you to understand and use. So right there, he's saying, I get it, that you think that this course doesn't apply to the world that you think you're in. And by the way, what is talking here, the voice that is talking here, is the Holy Spirit. It is not something that is outside of us. It's the Holy Spirit that is in our minds and is the part of our minds that is always connected to God. It is always part of the light. It is the wisdom part of our minds. It's the part of our minds, the only part of our mind that knows what's really going on, but also understands where we think we are and the dream we think we're in, and is guiding us through this dream. Not believing in it, but believing that this is where we think we are, and then helping us not only to awaken, but how to architect this dream life that we think that we're having. So it goes on to say, yet perhaps you have not done what it specifically advocates. This is not a course in the play of ideas, but in their practical application. Nothing could be more specific than to be told that if you ask, you will receive. I don't know how much clearer he can really be, right? It says the Holy Spirit will answer every specific problem as long as you believe that problems are specific. And the last sentence in the paragraph says, when you refuse to ask, it is because you believe that asking is taking rather than sharing. So all we have to do is ask. And yet we find that so difficult. And when we have a problem, we immediately go into that human condition of problem solving, and from the level of at which the problem was created. So the level of our mind, the level of the ego, that's where we go to solve problems. And so it's really hard to solve problems from that place. And going into it with this sort of panic and oh my god, and I have to find the answer, and what is the best course of action, and what should I do, and then we base it on the past, and we are afraid about of the future, and how's it going to affect my future, and what happened previously, and we run it through this whole sort of computer that is the brain, and we don't do the thing that is guaranteed to actually give us an answer, which is just asking, just specifically asking. This is different than the prayer practice that is talked about in the when the Course of Miracles talks about prayer in the Song of Prayer, which is that prayer is communion. And I get it, and I agree with that, and I do practice that. And that is, to me, that is separate. That is a regular practice where you're communing with the Father, you're communing with the God in you, the light in you, you're communing with Spirit, however, whatever your language for it is. This is different. This is saying, I got a problem. Can you help me fix it? What's the answer? And allowing yourself to be quiet and not take action until you get some kind of an answer and some kind of inspiration. And you always will when you ask and you listen. So the story that happened to me is that, so this past week, I had been away on vacation and I came home and I was informed that there had been some kind of an intermittent alarm beeping going on in my house that could be heard outside the house. And I knew right away what it was. I knew right away that it was a smoke alarm that had come to its at the end of its life and actually had to be physically replaced. It wasn't going to be enough to reset it. And so I called my landlord and said, I'm pretty sure I know what this is, and we just need to this thing needs to be replaced. We just need to get a new smoke alarm. And how did I know that? It's not because I have some kind of degree in smoke alarms or that I care about it or that I know anything about anything really that has to do with wiring in a house or anything like that. It is that this goes back a few years ago where I was living in another apartment, and this apartment had super high ceilings. So I couldn't reach any of the smoke alarms without, I would have had to stand on top of a really high ladder and then reach all the way up above my head and like unscrew things and try to like replace things. No, so I never did that. So I had a landlord that would always come over and do that for me. And so this intermittent kind of chirping little beep was starting to happen. At first I didn't, I was it was kind of like, did I even hear that? Like, it was just this little chirp. And so of course I ignored it, because that's the thing some of us do with problems, is that we ignore them when they're a little chirp, and we don't really do anything about them until they're actually really, really loud and screaming and shrieking at us. Or at least maybe I'm the only person that does that. But so over a period of several days, this intermittent chirping would happen, and I continued to do nothing about it, thinking, I wonder what that is. I don't know. I guess I got to look into that. And then finally it got to be where it was more persistent, it was more frequent, it was louder, and it went along for a longer duration. So that I realized, I said, oh, it must be the smoke alarm needs to have the batteries replaced. So I got to remember to call the landlord to do that. And then I went off to work, forgot about it, went off to my office, and once again, didn't address it. And then I worked all day that day, and then I had plans after work. I was gone into the evening. I came back to my house at like 11 o'clock at night, and I could hear that thing shrieking like outside my house. And I was like, oh shit, like what is going on? Oh my God, I never called the landlord. I never got this taken care of. So of course I went into shame and guilt immediately, and about not having taken care of it, not having done anything about it. And then now I'm kind of in a panic because I certainly can't sleep with that thing going off. It was going off like every 2 minutes for like a minute. And it was piercingly, ridiculously loud. And So I didn't even think, certainly didn't ask for any kind of guidance or answer about what I should do. Just ran around my house, packed a bag, texted my boyfriend who lived at the time 45 minutes away from me and said I got to come up there to spend the night because my smoke alarm's going off and I can't I don't know what I guess the batteries need to be replaced. I can't reach them, etc. Blah blah blah. Here I come and jumped in my car and bombed up to his house. I woke him up out of a dead sleep to tell him that, and then so disruption and just running around like a chicken with my head off and go up there. Get there at like midnight and felt bad too that I left my house when I know that I could hear this alarm too, that my neighbors could probably hear it. It wasn't my finest hour, and so I know that I was carrying the guilt about that as well, and just I had just like blindly gone into that place that we sometimes go into when there's a problem where we just feel like we have to solve it and we don't ask for any kind of guidance or answer or direction from the one place that is guaranteed to actually give it to us. And so I stayed up there all night. I got up in the morning, headed home early. It's like 7 o'clock, and as I'm driving, I get a text, and it's from my upstairs neighbor, and she was really nice about it. But she said, Kelly, there's been an alarm that's going off in your apartment all night. Thankfully, she didn't say I saw you drive out at like 11:15, but and I think it might be your smoke alarm, and maybe you should call the fire department. Wow, the fire department about a smoke alarm. Duh. I was like, oh, the fire department. Wow. Yeah, I probably should have called the fire department. I probably should have called the fire department when I first heard it, but then certainly when it was getting more insistent, and then definitely last night before I disrupted everything and everyone and ran out under the cover of darkness and subjected my neighbors to a sleepless night, as well as waking my boyfriend up in the middle of the night and just making my own life a hassle. Call the fire department. That's what they do. They're the fire department. So I called them and they were really nice about it. Oh yeah, this happens all the time. We'll send somebody right over. They send over a ladder truck, all these cute firefighters, and they go in the house, put up a ladder, take the thing off the ceiling, look at it, say it's expired, it's at the end of its life, it has to be replaced. And obviously the beeping all stopped. I called the landlords. They came over that day, installed a new one. It was no big deal. And it all could have been taken care of in probably 15 or 20 minutes with very little of movement and disruption had I just gotten quiet and asked and gone within and said, what do I need to do about this? But I didn't. I did learn from it, however, which is why I knew what to do last week, and the whole thing went smoother and was taken care of in about 20 minutes with very little disruption. So just learn from that, the way that I did, or learn from your own examples of times when that you have not asked for the answer. And maybe because you thought you weren't supposed to be asking for specifics, or because this world is an illusion. That's one of the ego's tricks as well. This world is an illusion. So you can't ask for any answers to anything because you're just asking for answers that are in the illusion. That's like saying, yeah, so we're not going to breathe any air in the illusion because it's just an illusion. We're not going to eat any food. No, that's the ego's circular illogic at work. Guaranteed to make it so that we don't actually find the answers to problems. The whole seek and do not find things. So that's my little story. I hope that you were entertained by it. If not, learn something from it, And that maybe you can think about that sometime when you're thinking about an answer to a problem and really working at trying to come up with the answer at the level of mind that created it in the first place, to remember to ask. And if you are looking to understand A Course in Miracles and how to apply it practically to your life, and live A Course in Miracles um, in a kind of a more a way that is going to work better for your life, that you're going to be able to apply it more often and to all the various aspects of your life. If you've never considered life coaching, I do ACIM based life coaching, and despite that example that I told you, that did happen several years ago, and I don't have as many things that happen like that now, mostly because I do employ the practices that the Course teaches, and have learned largely to live asking for guidance and asking for answers and employing what the Course is teaching. So if I can be helpful to you, check out the link below. Book a discovery call with me to, I have several coaching packages that I offer, and the discovery call is no obligation. So whether you decide to go on and actually decide to work with me in coaching, or whether it is you gain something from the discovery call itself, it's about an hour, and we do address something that you would be seeking coaching for. So I encourage you to do that. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please consider doing that as well. I'm here every week, and I'd love to have you join me. And that's what I do, is talk about applying A Course in Miracles in a practical way. So ask and you shall receive. Thanks for being here. I'll see you next week.